waiting to hear from you, so get those comments in.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and a very warm welcome to the Red and Blue Review. My name is Nick Philpott on this Remembrance Sunday, as you can see, which is beautifully observed for most of the time in Selhurst Park, but we'll come on to that shortly. I'm about to be joined by the usual crew, okay? Ian Noble, here to give you a little bit of therapy, aren't you, Ian? Good evening, mate. How are you?
Good evening, Nick. Good evening, everybody. I'm not too bad. Tail end of a cold, mate, head cold, but it didn't keep me away from Selhurst Park yesterday.
Bit of man flu, man up a bit. Paul Gear, aka the Real Panel. How are you, big man?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Yeah, I could be in a better Palace mood, but we'll be discussing all that shortly, I'm sure.
And you've done all the research. You've done all this research for this week's interview, okay? And sadly, he's not joining us.
We can save it for the next time.
Indeed. And welcome back. All right, we didn't get two legends on tonight, but of course we got the main one, the one that's always here. He always rocks up. How are you, Jim?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Evening all.
We've missed you the last couple of weeks, mate. Where you been? Don't tell me you got a life.
Yeah, I've got a social life outside of this.
You haven't. Okay, we had this conversation off air. No, you haven't. Anyway, we missed you, mate. Thank you for joining us. And tell everybody what happened to Big John. Sadly, ladies and gentlemen, John Burridge won't be joining us this evening. Over to you, Jim.
Yeah, no, he phoned me earlier on. He was looking forward to it. But when I interviewed him in Spironi's yesterday, he was really struggling with his throat and you could hardly hear him. And I think Nick's you've just mentioned about you couldn't hear him yesterday at half time. So he phoned me and he said, look, I'm going to bed. I'm not feeling that good. So unfortunately, that's the way it is.
Well, Budgie, if you are watching us or you are listening back on the podcast, we have missed you this evening, mates. We will do it again when you get back into Oman. Get in touch with Jimbo and we'll do it another weekend. And sorry you couldn't make it this evening. Boys, we're going to kick off, if you don't mind. I'll do the loan watch to start with because I want to talk about a couple of other areas, including Remembrance Sunday and all that sort of stuff in a second. So Owen Gilman conceded the only game for Wimbledon who lost at home to Grimsby Town. Joe Whitworth played 90 minutes for Exeter City as they kept a clean sheet and beat Charlton Athletic 1-0 at home. Danny Imrie didn't play for Bromley due to a red card last week. Jez Raksaki played today for the first 73 minutes over their United's 1-0 home win over Sheffield Wednesday. Teo came on in the 63rd minute for Stockport as they cruised to a 5-0 home win against Bolton. David Ozone on loan at Derby County is still missing due to his injury. And Luke Plange came on in the 72nd minute for HK Helsinki, and they lost 2-0 at home to another club with a load of random letters in there. So that covers the loan watch. What about Odson? Has Odson Edouard showed his face anywhere, boys? Do you know?
I was just checking actually to see if he was anywhere near the team or bench. He was on the bench for Leicester today. Came on in the 88th minute for Jordan.
Not very good. Okay, so we're going to start off with the Remembrance at Selhurst yesterday. And it's something that's ground my gears, if I'm honest with you. And it really has pissed me off in the highest manner. We've got a little bit of extra time this evening, so we're going to talk about it, okay? So it turns out it appears, and thanks to Ian for supplying me the information, that in the away section, Crystal Palace Football Club employ a DJ. I don't know why they employ a DJ to entertain the away fans. It's a regular thing that happens. And during the last post, yesterday, some of you may have heard some noise coming from the away fans. It's actually the DJ still playing music, or during a 2-minute silence, he was actually playing music. From what I understand, this is not the first time this has happened on Remembrance Sunday or the game prior to Remembrance Sunday. Crystal Palace Football Club, get your bloody act sorted out, okay? I also heard a report that in the back of the homestyle, there a group of fans were also playing loud music in the back of the homestyle. I don't know if any of you actually heard that. It's only hearsay as far as I'm concerned. I didn't hear it. It's just not a good look, Palace. Okay, we're in a shitty enough position as it is without getting bad press. Yeah, the Kamada sending off, which we're going to come on to later on, that happened. Okay, and there's allegations of racism by our own fans towards Kamada. Crystal Palace Football Club, stamp down on it, eradicate it, ban them for life, get them out of the club because I don't want anything to do with it. Okay, so that's my. And also the other thing Palace didn't do yesterday was that. Okay, it's only when I tweeted something about it this morning. Miraculously, Crystal Palace put out a tweet about it about less than 2 or 3 minutes later that they even neglected to comment on I believe it was the 8th anniversary of the Croydon tram crash, and absolutely no recognition of it by our club yesterday at all. They did tweet today, and following my tweet, I had a look through the tweets with the Palace hashtag on it, and a couple of other people had also mentioned it. Ian, you said to me by a private message this morning that Sharon Lacey had responded. I'm not on Facebook, ladies and gents, so I didn't see this until Ian sent it to me. You're saying that Sharon Lacey from the club actually commented somewhere about it.
Yeah, that's right. I think actually it came from Twitter, not Facebook anyway. And somebody tweeted about the noise during the last post. And she then explained about the DJ. They had briefed the DJ to stop playing the music at that time, but the message didn't get through. And I think her parting shot was, it wasn't our finest hour. So listen, mistakes do happen. Shit happens, as they say. But it was disappointing. And everybody in the main stand where I was sort of looking, thinking, when's this going to stop? It wasn't terrible. It didn't drown the sound out, and there was still that mark of respect as you would want to see at a football match. And I like the way that they did it on Match of the Day, the montage of all the various games played yesterday, and it was observed across the country, which was the right thing to do.
And my real beef about it is, and we do compare ourselves to that mob down at the South Coast, but you got to put your hands up and say, look how well they observed it yesterday. Fantastic poppy display by the fans and everything else, immaculately observed. And what did Crystal Palace Football Club do? Absolutely bugger all. Come on, guys. If anybody from the club is watching this, let's get a grip, okay? Let's get a grip. We are supposed to be, 12 years in the Premier League? We're 12 years in the Premier League, and we are acting like a non-league football club. We need to get more professional. Right, that's my moan over, okay? Thank you for listening to me whinging on for a few minutes. Ian, I'm going to hand over to you because I'd like you, if you're feeling up to it, to cover the game, if you'd be so kind.
Right, well, we'll give it a go, but I'm muted myself so far on this pod because I'm still coughing a bit. And I was shouting a little bit yesterday, but I kept it down because I'm a granddaughter with me, so I was quite well behaved yesterday. Wasn't I, Paul Gear? Yes.
You were, yes, very well behaved, yes.
Yeah, listen, okay, so I think we went into this one yesterday with initially some expectation of keeping the run going, but when we saw the team sheet, I think that probably lowered our expectations because, you're missing so many good players. We're missing Eze, we're missing Lerma, we're missing Wharton. And I think any side that misses their top players are going to struggle. But we know that our squad is not as deep as others. And therefore, when players are out, it hurts us more, maybe. I think we were surprised by the lineup because, Paul, you commented, didn't you, in a chat that we're in, specifically about the lineup. So what was it you said yesterday to me? Remind me.
Well, yeah, as I say, we all went into the game a bit hopeful. Once I saw the lineup, I was sort of hoping at best for a draw, to be honest, because you can't go into a Premier League game with your sixth choice centre midfielder who's young and never played before, and Mark Gay is your midfield. You're on a hiding to nothing. As you say, there's no Eze, there's no Wharton, there's no Lerma. Doucouré wasn't fit enough to start. Hughes was banned. And most teams in the Premier League, bar the top 3 or 4 probably, you lose your 5 top midfielders, you're going to struggle. And Fulham are playing well at the moment. They're a well-oiled machine. They played very well the other day against Brentford when they came back and won. So my expectation of a points return diminished quite quickly, unfortunately, a point for that. But yeah, again, it was quite interesting to see that he did that because my first reaction was he was going to play Gay. He was going to play Munoz up front because he did that at Wolves the end of last week and played Klein at right back. But he ended up playing Klein at centre back and Gay in midfield. So it was, they were obviously struggling yesterday with what to do and how to do it. So, and sadly, it showed on the pitch, didn't it? So
and Oliver Glasner was asked about this after the game. To tell us about your team selection. And he sort of said that actually, apart from Mark Gahey, everyone was playing in a position that they had been used to playing in at some point. Klein played left centre back, and last season he played right centre back quite a bit in that good run that we had. Kamada was in the 10, wasn't he? And he's played in that more attacking role previously as well. So there was that sort of feeling that players were in positions they were used to, with the exception of Mark Gahey. And his argument for that was that he was putting a young lad in there making his debut, and he wanted the most experienced player alongside him. Yeah, you can't necessarily argue with that. In the lounges, Jim, when you had the team selection, what was the reaction from people around you?
Well, I knew I was speaking to Mark Bright before the game, and he basically told me Gahey and Devaney would be in the middle of the park. And to be fair, I didn't really know much about the kid, but the kid was one of our best players yesterday.
Yeah.
And the only mistake the manager made was taking him off and not taking Kamada off, because then we wouldn't have ended up with 10 men. Bear in mind, the guy basically stood about for 90 minutes or 70 minutes doing nothing, giving the ball away.
Okay.
He looks a decent player, but I'm not even sure. When we try to close down, you look at him, he's just jogging about the middle of the park. I don't even know where he's supposed to be playing. We'll
come to Kamada, because Kamada's had a huge amount of criticism on the back of yesterday's game, as you would imagine. Not only did he play badly, it was anonymous. He got sent off, which we'll come to, as I said. But for me, a Japanese international who was arguably our marquee signing this summer, when we've got our best players out, you want him to step up. It was his opportunity to step up, and he just didn't, frankly. So, I think we're all in agreement that Kamada had a bad game. I think we're also in agreement that Justin Devaney, I'm going to get his name right. I didn't know his first name all the way through the first half. I said at half time to someone, what's the kid's first name? Justin Devaney. It says there he's a winger, but he played in the defensive midfielder role. He's been our under-21s captain this season, and last, I think, Paul. Is that right? Last season as well?
Yeah, no, he's been playing for the youth team for a while now, and had some good reviews. He's been on the bench a lot this season. I don't think he's actually come on yet, so it was literally his first taste of first team football.
That's right. He was on the bench against Chelsea away, apparently. Nick, I'll come to you in a sec. We signed him from Airdrie, apparently. He played in the Scottish Championship and got them promoted into the Scottish Premiership. So he's one probably that Friedman found somewhere, the way Doogie finds these players. But I agree with you, Jim. I thought he played very, very well. Nick, you want to say something?
I'm just going to give you some background on Justin. So he's Scottish, but oddly, he's a Northern Ireland under-21s midfielder. As you said, we signed him from Scottish Championship Airdrie. He made his way up through the ranks of Kilmarnock Academy, along with a brief stint on loan at Broomhill Football Club. Mean anything to you, Jim? Broomhill Football Club?
Well, I've heard of them, yeah.
Okay,
before joining nothing to me, but
before joining the Diamonds initially in 2021-22 on loan and making a permanent move in 22-23. And as Ian just rightly alluded to, after helping the Scottish Premier, the promotion to the Scottish Premier, 22-23.
Yeah. So look, he got his chance and he took it. Frankly, I thought he played really, really well. I saw people digging him out on Twitter. A couple of people. I don't know what game they were watching, but I thought he had a really good game. He was on set pieces, and he put in a couple of good deliveries. One or two weren't as good, but he was putting the ball into the box, and I thought he certainly can come out of that with a lot of credit from yesterday. One interesting thing before we get into talk about anything in the game is that our XG apparently was almost as good as Fulham's yesterday. That doesn't make sense to me at all. In as much as they look much better than us, but our expected goals were very similar, just under 1.7 or something like that, I think it was. So we had chances throughout the 90 plus minutes for sure. Fulham looked sharper, didn't they? Right from the off, Jimenez got a shot away early on. Dean Henderson was called into action early doors from Nelson. without Henderson, actually, if he'd had a bad game yesterday, it could easily been 4 or 5. I thought Henderson, alongside the young lad, was equally good. Great game from him, And I said to someone next to me, I said, do we think now that Dean Henderson is England's first choice? So, I don't know. I mean, is he going to get picked ahead of Pickford? I think he's doing himself every favour the way he's playing in a team that's struggling. So he's getting called into action a lot, making lots of saves. And I thought he played really, really well yesterday and couldn't have done much about the goals, to be fair. Thoughts on that, gents?
Yeah, I don't think he could be blamed too much for either of those goals. As Stephen Arles is saying in the chat, Henderson was poor on both goals. Steve, mate, I respect your point of view and you're entitled to it. I think you're a little bit harsh. Whether he gets in ahead of Pickford, I doubt very much. In fact, I will go one step further than that. I wonder how many points we will actually be sitting on without Henderson this season.
Well, we're not on many anyway, so but
exactly.
Yeah. So look, it's it was we didn't particularly play. We gave the ball away cheaply. We'll come to the first goal in a minute, but the first real big mistake was Klein gave the ball away, and the ball came across, and Emil Smith-Rowe got on the end of it, and it was Lacroix, interestingly, that dug us out that time. A great tackle, but he had to get his timing spot on, didn't he? Because if he gets it slightly wrong, it's a stonewall penalty. And I thought it was a shame, really, for Lacroix, because I thought he had a really good first half until he did what he did. He gave the ball away. What was he thinking, Paul Gear? We're in added time at the end of a first half.
That's the frustration. Yeah, I mean, at that sort of time, you got to be full of concentration. Don't give anything stupid away on the stroke of half time. And as you say, he had a good game. He was playing well, but he played a far too riskier pass. I get trying to pass it out the back. It's not always my favourite thing they do, but that really was a very risky pass he played. And it backfired spectacularly. I mean, straight literally from just a few yards straight to Smith-Rowe. And they're on us like a flash straight away because, as we said, they were very pacey up front anyway. But yeah, it was just the worst time to give away a stupid goal like that.
There was no need for it, was there? No need for that, Jim. Was there at that time?
No, I mean, if you look at that clip there, I was always, especially under Terry Venables, used to always say the last man on the ball should never be the last man. When you look at that clip, the two centre halves either side of them are left back and right back. So any danger, it's over. So their positions were all wrong. But yeah, he tried to pass the ball and got caught out. It happens. But when we're under strength like that, it makes the job even harder.
It does. And yeah, it was just a sucker punch, wasn't it, really? Just before half time. It was really, really tough to take. I had no words. I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe what I was watching. There were a few half chances in the first half before that. Mateta was making himself busy, but he never really looked as if he could. There weren't any proper big chances, were they? Were little scraps and half chances. And I thought he looked a bit ungainly yesterday, Mateta. He certainly not in the same shape as someone like Jimenez for Fulham yesterday. When he gets the ball and has a shot and it's might miss the target, but it's a decent effort. Mateta, he was like, I don't know, he's like Bambi on ice at times. He was like his legs up where his head should be and all that kind of stuff, and he looked really awkward. And the one that he nearly scored, again, it was very awkward. He got his head to it. Keeper gets a touch glove on it, and Anderson obviously clears off the line. But it was never really a serious threat, I didn't think. So yeah, we go in 1-0 down and disappointing. Very disappointing. Glasner clearly changed it at half time, didn't he? One thing I like about Oliver Glasner is I like the way he's prepared to make bold decisions. He's happy to bring subs on when we're chasing games, which is quite a lot at the moment. But he realised it hadn't worked in the first half, so he changed it around completely. Can you remember what the 4 combinations were, Paul Gear? Do you want to give my voice a rest?
All I seem to know is he kept changing. Well, Kamada kept changing place. From the one place we wanted him to go was the bench, but he kept going on different places on the pitch. But yeah, obviously, Gay went back into the back line. Kamada dropped down, which as I say, unfortunately, probably just Sarr was then moved left to right and all sorts of things. Munoz was going up front. So they were trying, as you say, all sorts of different things to get round it. But the problem was the big problem we had was there was no one really we could bring on the bench to change it. We were having to just mix and match what was already on the pitch because Schlupp's no impact sub these days, is he? And there's no one else you're gonna bring on. So it was just trying to get the best combination of the 11, 12 that are around there.
Yeah, totally. So
basically, one of the 2 goalkeepers we had on the bench.
That might have been better. I don't know, but so I don't know if you do you remember seeing a manager at Crystal Palace, Jim, make so many changes to the on-field 11 at half time as he did yesterday?
Well, yeah, I suppose over the years there must have been, but I mean, I think yesterday he had to try something. Obviously, it weren't working, and it's down to the injuries, isn't it? You've got a depleted team, players that don't play on a regular basis, and he was fishing. But to me, he just made the wrong substitution anyway. Kamada should have come off. But he's got this thing about Kamada, whether it's his player and he can't lose a bit of face. But I can basically say he's done nothing from the minute he started this season to the point. I mean, I've said a couple of times he looks a decent player, but I never know where he's playing. And at the moment, we used to play with wingers. Now we've got, like Sarr, he goes right, he goes left, he comes in the middle. We never threaten anybody down the lines these days, and that's where a lot of people get a lot of joy, getting down the line, getting crosses in. You're watching Arsenal today, the amount of crosses they whip into that box. You're not going to get balls in the box. People don't go in. If you get crosses in, people will eventually start getting in, and we're not doing anything like that at the moment.
Now, there was one move actually in the first half. We've moved on a bit, but I think it was Munoz who got the ball into the box, but he hit it behind Mateta. It was quite a decent move. It's probably our best move actually in the first period when the ball was played through the lines and it was played out to Munoz. The reason that Sarr comes in, I think, and Kamada in the first half yesterday were playing in the 2-10s, is that the way he plays, he wants 3 players playing close together up top, and the wing backs are supposed to be doing that job. They're supposed to be Tarek, Mitchell and Munoz. But I don't think, certainly not Tarek, I don't think he's really quite got it. I thought he was improving a few weeks ago, but, he's not in the same, for me, in the same ballpark as Fulham's left wing back, for example. That what's his name, Robinson?
Anthony Robinson.
He was getting forward and getting balls across and, far more than Mitchell was yesterday. Munoz is better at it, I think. I think he plays...
That was a key part at the end of last season. Mitchell and Munoz were literally up and down all the time. I mean, I remember our second goal at Wolves at the end of last season was a rebound from a shot when Klein was in the 18-yard box attacking. Yeah. And we seem to have lost that bravery, whether that's just confidence or results or just sort of trying to get back to base. We seem to have lost that bravery. And as Jim says, we don't get people in the box. And you say, Mateta, the only time he thinks he's going to get the ball, he's got to come short for it because, as you say, there's nothing coming into the box for him. Like the end of last season, he was on fire because he was getting chances created left, right and centre. So I think it's very hard when you're on the run of results we are, but we need to sort of try and get some of that sort of bravado back again with Munoz just going up non-stop and chasing everything and just getting the ball in the box because at the moment, you saw it yesterday, Fulham, every time they attacked, all 4 of them at great pace were in our attacking and that's why you get goals when you have 1 at best or 2 people attacking, which we have. And again, I said pre-show, we seem to be slow out of the back again. We've got... At the end of last season against Villa, one of our goals was Henderson got the ball from their cross, rolled it straight out to Eze on the halfway line, up, we score. The goal we're going to come to probably with Emil Smith-Rowe that was ruled out. That was from our attack. Their goalie instantly throws it out. They got 4 players in our attack. We just don't seem to be doing that at the moment. And yeah, when we're not scoring, obviously, the minute you can see the goal, you're up against it. So it's not great.
Guys, I'm just going to interject here before you carry on. Ladies and gentlemen that are watching via Facebook this evening, you may well notice that all the names and comments that you're putting through, you're coming up on our screen as Facebook users. So if we don't refer to your name in person, it's because we can't see them. I've got the guys that are out there on YouTube, I can see your names, but the folks that are watching us via Facebook this evening, I cannot. So forgive us for that. Sorry, Ian.
No worry. Well, I think it's probably the least of our. Well, shame we can't give you name checks, guys. But we've got bigger fish to fry at the moment. Talking about things that go wrong on the pitch. Our Facebook user thing. I think we'll probably live with that. So Mark Gay goes back into left centre back. Klein goes to right wing back. Munoz moves into the 10, and Kamada moves into the 6. They were the 4 key changes that were made at half time. Munoz was busy. I think someone said in the chat, Munoz worked his socks off up and down the line. But when he was asked to play forward, he was making himself a bit of a nuisance. Saab played him through once. He was through on goal. It was saved by the keeper. He was annoyed with himself that he didn't do better with it, but he would have been offside anyway. He was marginally off, I think. And then, Paul, this incident you've referred to already, where Fulham get a second goal. And for all intents and purposes, game is over early on. But they did break really quickly, didn't they? Their front players with pace. And they sort of outnumbered us. And they got a decent ball in. And it was a relatively easy tap in for Emil Smith-Rowe at the far stick. I think they were unlucky. I know it was technically offside. The lines were drawn. But if that's Palace that score a goal like that, you're gutted, aren't you? That's not given.
You are, but it's offside, and you have to accept that these days. Yeah, it was a very quick attack. It was a very well-worked attack and a good goal. You say you get people in the box, that's what happens. But again, it's one of those classic VARs that it took an age. It's standing around waiting. The sooner this newer technology supposedly comes in to get the offsides quicker, the better. Because, it must have been 3 or 4 minutes there just standing there waiting. And where we sit, there's TV screens sort of in the stand behind, so you can look around. Everyone's sort of looking at that because you get more information from that, which is still crazy that the match going fan doesn't have any knowledge on the screen or anything. They're just in amusement land. But obviously it was great that he got ruled out and we gave us a bit of a second wind, but we didn't take advantage of it.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Henderson was called into action again. It was Pereira this time. Iwobi fed him. I think he hit him head on in the face like he did. He saved one at Wolves like that as well last week. He makes himself really big. And then he tipped one over. It was a long range effort as well that looked as if it might be going over, but he wasn't taking any chances, and he tipped it over for another Fulham corner. I think we'll look at the stats at the end, but they got about 8 corners to our 1. I've mentioned Mateta's efforts already. He had a tame effort on goal in the second half. Should do better, really. Fulham had a few half chances. And then came the big talking point of the second half while it's still 1-0. Your friend, Jim, talk us through your thoughts on what he was doing to get sent off, Kamada.
He went over the top. For the first time in the game, he looked as if he tried to make a tackle, but he's not a defender, so he's lunged in at the ball, and I don't think the referee had no choice but to send him off. Yeah,
it was a leg breaker, wasn't it? And the boy was fortunate to get up. And
I do actually. If you slow it down, he just tried to pull his foot away. I think because he knew he was wrong, but his momentum had taken him into him. So it gave the referee an easy choice, didn't he?
Yeah. And one thing the club have come out and said today is that there were reports of racism towards Kamada as he left the pitch yesterday, which is, clearly totally unacceptable and uncalled for. And we can't condone any behaviour like that. But, I just hope that he enjoys his rest and comes back and wanting to prove himself, because I think there's a player in there, but we just haven't seen it yet.
What made me laugh, Ian, was I was hearing that Palace fans were actually the ones that the non-racers guys out there were actually cheering when he got sent off, and the Fulham fans were actually booing when he got sent off simply because they didn't want him to go off because he was so shit.
Yeah, that's quite ironic, isn't it? Yeah. To be fair, we talked about it on a previous podcast. He did score a decent goal away at Aston Villa in the League Cup a couple of weeks back. But the irony is that he was playing pretty poorly up to that point in that game as well. So we know, I think there's a player there, as I said, but we just haven't seen it yet. And it's up to Oliver Glasner. He's worked with him before to coach him and get the best out of him, isn't it? Really, he's got to earn his money as Glasner now with someone like Kamada. Harry Bloody Wilson. If I had that song again, I don't want. I mean, Fulham fans were sort of quite noisy when they started singing about him, didn't they? You know, put the ball in the Brentford net and all that stuff. And their super sub comes off the bench again and makes it 2-0. And it was too easy, their second goal. I can't blame Henderson. I think some people in the chat are saying Henderson should have done better. He did get a hand to the first goal, but he was never saving that. And similarly with his second one. You in agreement with me, chaps? Hendo didn't do much wrong for the goals.
I don't think you can blame him for both goals, but I don't think they were unsavable. Let's put it that way. It wouldn't have really been a major shock if he had saved them. But yeah, I would say with 10 men, they were just playing around us and creating chances, weren't they? So one was always going to go in to finish it off at some point.
Yeah, I agree. He didn't. He couldn't do anything for the second goal, ladies and gentlemen. In the chat, lad, I'd like, especially those of you on YouTube, so I can see who's posting it. Was that a red card for you? Yes or no? Give us your answers now and let us know what it is. Continuing, please.
Yeah, I think I'll be surprised if anyone says it wasn't a red card. It was pretty nailed for me. No arguments from the player either. Couple of late subs late on. You know, we've talked about the fact he took Devene off, where he should have taken Kamada off. And I don't disagree with that comment, Jim, that you said earlier as well. I just want to have a quick look at the substitutions. I've got them here somewhere on my phone. So Schlupp comes on the 74 minutes. Before that, Doucouré gets a chance. He comes on for Klein. So again, you know, he takes a fullback off, brings a midfielder on. So if Doucouré's fit enough to come off the bench, why didn't Doucouré start, Paul Gibb?
I asked the same question the other day. Paul, your thoughts?
I don't think he's ready for it. There's this common belief in football: if you're on a bench, you're able to play 90 minutes. I remember seeing an interview with Jurgen Klopp a few years ago, and Liverpool were playing Rangers in the European Cup, and he said he wanted to play Mo Salah, but the science department had said no, he can only play 20 minutes. So he stuck with them, brought him on for 20 minutes. He scored a hat trick in 20 minutes. I don't think players, the first game back after weeks out, you can't just throw them in and give them 90 minutes. And the other thing is you're risking other injury. So we can't afford to re-injure people at the moment. So you got to go a bit softly. Same with Chris Richards. He could have come in yesterday, and he's played midfield for us, hasn't he? He could have come in for where Deveni played. But you don't want to rush these, but especially in the position we're in. If we've got a fully fit squad, maybe you can rush them back because you could bring someone else on if they do break down. But we're not in that position at the moment. So I think I can understand why he was on the bench. You want to try and bring these players on for 20 minutes like last week for a couple of games, and then they can play. But yeah, it's I don't think it's always as straightforward as if you're in the squad, you can play the whole game. Yeah,
fair enough. Check Doucouré came through it unscathed, do we think, yesterday for his half an hour?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. He looked okay when he came off, but he wasn't able to influence anything.
No, true. So Doucouré came on for Klein, Schlupp came on for Devene, and then late on 88 and 89 minutes, Kapora and Agbinoni, is that how you say his name? Both come off the bench. And I don't know why he felt he had to make those substitutions for Sarr and Munoz when we're 2-0 down. The game's almost gone anyway, but that substitution for me was saying that I've given up on this. Cool.
Possibly. I think there was a few people around me going, "Oh, well, you're taking your best players off and all that." I think in 88 minutes, the game is gone. I think again, to be honest, in my opinion, there was a lot of player protection there. You could have taken any of them off. There's no point in keeping Sarr on there or Munoz on there if they're going to run around for no reason when the game's gone. So you might as well give a couple of kids in those positions a run out and give them some minutes, because as we've seen, we may actually need them going forward if the injuries stay like this. So any minutes in their tank will help them.
Well, I must confess, when I saw that he'd given the game up, I thought, well, if he's giving it up, so am I, because I did leave earlier. I can count on one hand the number of times I've left the game that early, 2 or 3 minutes to go. But I did leave early, along with many other people, I hasten to add. What were the boys like that came off the bench, Paul?
Well, I wasn't there much longer than you, to be honest. I stayed to about the 93rd minute. But yeah, they didn't really get to touch the ball, to be honest. I mean, as you say, it was in some ways it's pointless. They're not going to make any change to the game. It's just giving them an appearance, perhaps. But yeah, no, I left on 93, and just as I was walking down, Fulham put the ball in the net again. So I was fearing even worse, but again,
Yeah.
that ruled out for handball. So, it was a pretty miserable end. I'm pretty sure when the final whistle went, there was not many people in there.
Yeah, sure. Jim, you pleased to see the youngsters get a few minutes at the end?
Yeah, I mean, I think he realised the game's done. He's not going to come back from that. And it's a case of, you said it earlier, it's with all the injuries you've got, bring off a couple of players that you know you're going to need in a few weeks' time. And you, at the same time, you're giving two kids the experience of playing in a Premiership game. And that's probably invaluable for them. Plus, they're probably getting appearance money. They need to get on the park, then maybe get a bit of a bonus. So, I mean, I think it was a case of just saving the legs of the players that he took off.
Yeah, you're probably right. I think that's it. And I think the game had gone by then for sure. They did get the ball in the back of the net again, as you said. Harry Wilson again, but handball, because he clearly handled it. But that one was ruled out. I thought 2-0, someone put it in the chat earlier. I saw it go through. 2-0 flattered us, didn't it? They should have won by 4 or 5 Fulham, really. You know, they were better than us, much better. I think Glasner also said it's the first time we deserve to lose this season. The other games, he's looking at it a bit, saying even the Liverpool game, we had chances to have got something out of it. Other games where we got beat narrowly, but we deserved to lose yesterday. It was the worst game of the season yesterday.
Thank you, Ian. Rest up that voice. One thought before we finish up on the game. There's the stats. Well, as you can see, I think, I'm just going down the list. Completely and utterly outplayed in every department. So thank you, Nige. Boys, as you were watching the game, what did you think of the referee? Paul, do you think what sort of game do you think he had?
I didn't take too much notice of the referee yesterday. I mean, I'm on a chat with Ian and sort of stuff. And every week I will put out a screenshot from the Premier League of who our ref for that week is under the heading "This Week's Idiot." I mean, I think they're all useless and they get lots wrong. I mean, he obviously got the red card right yesterday, but I think I didn't focus too much on his performance yesterday because it was nothing to do with it. It was our performance I was sort of more worried about. And I don't think I wasn't as annoyed with the ref as I usually am. Let's put it that way.
Jim, does he come under your normal category?
So who should be sitting in the VAR in your mind?
Well, they should have a couple of players that have played 300-400 games in the Premiership, definitely. But then they would have to be retired guys, obviously. But I mean, the referees, from the day I first started playing, I thought they were wankers.
Sorry, mate, I interrupted you.
You said that without moving your lips.
I was just about to say, who's that Pratt on there talking over me? Yesterday, I thought he was a bit picky on things. Lots of referees seem to be letting a lot of things go these days that are probably right to let them go. But I thought yesterday he was like gone back a couple of seasons and he was giving fouls away for both teams that you could have just let go. But other than that, he was usual crap.
In fact, Nick, you asked the question. In the chat, most people were saying they thought the ref was poor, abysmal, shocking game. All kinds of not a lot of love for the referee. He is one of our more experienced Premier League referees, I think, and he's Salisbury. He's been around a bit, but I don't think he did particularly well. I don't know how they rate them. They all get marked, don't they? Still,
they all have an assessor at the game for sure. Okay, right. We're going to move on now, boys. I've got a couple of other things I want to discuss with you. Before we do that, I'm just going to go through the results from the other teams since the last show. The under-21s. I'm about to cough. Excuse me a minute.
Well, it's catching, obviously. Catching.
The under-21s went down heavily against Peterborough. I watched that one live. 4-1 in the under-18s on Saturday the 9th. Played in the Premier League at Crystal Palace's training ground. They drew 2-2 with West Brom. And this afternoon, some of you might have seen it, the Palace ladies played in WSL at the VBS Community Stadium and drew 1-1 with the other lot of Scousers. Okay, so nothing very thrilling in there. Boys, next topic of conversation, if you like, okay? I want to talk to you, and before I've even said anything, okay, I haven't even opened my mouth yet, somebody just look at the last comment from YouTube that's in there. The comment, I don't think Glasner should be under the cosh. Glasner's working with a very thin squad. Okay, I don't think he should be under any threat whatsoever. But what the hell are we doing with all these injuries? Okay, so on my list, I've got Sarr, Kamada, Lacroix, and Ketia. That guy, PR66, Paul's just put in there, Uma. There's the list for you, or there's part of the list. Franca's out. Don't forget, we've also got Chaddy Riyad out, Adam Walton out, Eze, Lerma, and Rob Holding we won't even talk about. Okay, that list is probably the backbone of our squad, and he's literally running on vapours. So I can't see that the manager's got an awful lot to play with. What the hell are we doing at training that's causing all these injuries? Guys, anything at all? Jim, have you got any thoughts on it?
No, it's just one of them things, I think, isn't it? People get injured.
Really though? It just seems. If you look at
different injuries, I mean, I think they knew that Walton had a groin problem probably when they signed him, that probably needed attention because they do thorough medical. So, I wouldn't put it down to training. I mean, the science behind the training these days is a million times better than anything in any other sport, probably. And it's bad luck. Bad luck.
So
and probably somebody like Walton, though, because he's so good, he's trying to keep playing him a little bit longer than he should have done. So, and that might be the case because we have got. I think Ian said it earlier on. We've got quite a depleted squad. Even our squad, we've only got 20 senior players, I think, in the squad. We haven't got the 25. The rest of them are just made up of academy players and under 21s. So, like you get rid of people like Ayew and Edward, but you don't bring any, although they're not regular players. I mean, we don't want an Ayew in the team at the moment, won't we? So you need I think we need a deeper squad of more experienced players because at the moment, like Saturday showed, we've got on the bench just full of kids.
Paul, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the injuries, if you take, we've had Richards, we've had Lerma, we've had Walton, we've had Eze, a lot of Richards. We've had a lot of those players. They didn't have much of a summer rest either, so I don't know whether that's not helped it. And as Jim says, because of the injuries, we've probably played others more than they should have. He said the other week he should have taken Nketiah off earlier at Villa. He should have taken Nketiah off at Wolves, but because of the lack of bench, he can't. So I think there's fatigue injuries like that. Things like the Riyad injury where he went over his ankle, that's just a match injury. You can't do much about that. So there's an element of bad luck. There's an element of, you could argue, as Jim said, if the squad's not good enough, you have to keep playing these players. So we're overplaying when people perhaps should be rested. I think that's definitely the case with Walton. They were trying to manage him without having surgery. That backfired. They've ended up having to, which has exacerbated that situation. And then, of course, yesterday Hughes had an unfortunate suspension as well because they'll start ramping up now with the games coming up and the bookings coming up. So, yeah, there's bad luck in it. And there's, but being forced to play when they probably shouldn't. So it's come to a big problem now when you got sort of 6 players out in one position. So we need them back pretty pronto, to be honest.
I'll come into that in a second. Ian.
Yeah, Bruce Muirhead said in the chat, bring back Raksaki. Now, that's not such a stupid idea, Bruce. I think I agree with you. If the squad's depleted and we have a forward player who might not be quite ready for the Premier League yet, okay, but he's doing well in the Championship. He's getting 70 minutes every week with Sheffield United. He's scoring the odd goal. Sheffield United fans really like him. They're saying, don't recall him, Crystal Palace in January. If there is a recall clause, I would say get him back because, we need more depth, as we've already alluded to. So he would be our starting point. He might not be the ultimate answer, and we also need to be busy in the window. We need to find these players to bring 2 or 3 more in. I think in January to just give the squad a bolster, and whilst even Edouard, I'd take him back, and have him on the bench. Right, I know he's not doing anything at Leicester, he's not getting any minutes really, but we know there was a player there once, and he's probably better than some of the kids we've got, to come off the bench for 5-10 minutes towards the end of a game. So maybe it's players like that we've got to look to in the short term to just give us a little bit of a boost. So
thank you for the segue there, Ian, talking about the transfer window, because everybody's views when we did a show at the end of the transfer window around the pre-season time, apart from mine, everybody was saying what a successful window that was. Okay, Sarr, Kamada, Lacroix, and Nketiah. Okay, now the manager's complaint to it. It was viewed as though we backed the manager. I don't think we did back the manager, if I'm honest. I know Kamada and Lacroix were his choices. Okay, we got them in eventually, and we did bring him in eventually, but it's too late for any sort of pre-season. Same with Nketiah, miles too late for any major pre-season, so they didn't have time to spend with the squad. Okay, were those 4 signings a success?
Well, they're not yet. They're not a success yet, are they? Obviously. But I don't think any of them are bad signings. I think they're fine. We've talked about Lacroix already and how he played well apart from his stupid mistake yesterday, and he seems to be growing into it. I think I said to someone at half time yesterday, Arsenal got rid of 3 players: Emile Smith-Rowe, Nelson, and Nketiah. If you'd been asked which one of those 3, you can have one of them, which one would you want? What would you have said, Paul Gibb, before a ball was kicked this season?
I probably would have said Nketiah, to be honest. Not because Smith Rowe's a bad player. We're pretty stocked in midfield. So we've always been after a striker. So I don't think he was a bad signing. I think a big problem is we're not playing him up front, but that may be because he's not justifying it yet, whether he's not settled into that role yet, whether Mateta deserves a spot more. I'm not really sure, but I do find it hard to judge a player when they're not playing in their natural position. But I'd like to think he will be a good signing and come good. But yeah, that's who I'd have gone for.
Yeah, someone said Smith-Rowe, but Smith-Rowe clearly played well yesterday. There's no doubt about that. He had a great game, but he's injury prone. We know he's a lot of injuries at Arsenal. So the bloke I asked that question to said exactly the same as you. Out of the 3 of them, Nketiah. So he's not a bad signing, Eddie Nketiah. We haven't seen the best of him yet. So to try and answer your question, Nick, I don't think it was a terrible window. I think it was an okay window. It just hasn't worked quite as we wanted it to just yet.
Okay, my concern is, and I'm going to hark back to a subject that I have banged on about for a long time. I'm not sure this director of football thing with Dougie Freedman is that successful. I really don't. 2 of those 4 that I just quoted, okay, in Sarr and is it Lacroix? They're clearly his signings. Okay, he's the director of football. The manager said, "I want 2 of those players." I get that. Okay, and he's gone out and got them for him. Okay, but the rest of the squad, Chinch has alluded to it. We've got 20 first-team players, and the rest of it's made up by kids. And ready. I'm waiting for this to go to meltdown any second now. Is the director of football fit for purpose, gentlemen?
It depends the budget he's given. Everyone will hark back to, yes, over the last few years, we've brought in a lot of players whose value has gone up incredibly. And if we've sold them or have sold them, we've made huge profits on them. So he's brought some good ones in. He's also brought some duffers in. You need to know the conditions he's working under, really, to judge it.
Well, look, Dougie Freedman is well thought of in football, isn't he? Newcastle wanted him as their sporting director. And apparently they spoke to him and he decided to stay. He could have gone to Newcastle, but he chose to stay with us. I think he's unearthed some fantastic footballers, isn't he? Adam Wharton. Yeah, he found Adam Wharton. He went to watch Adam Wharton make his debut for Blackburn Rovers. And he's followed him. He's the reason we've got Adam Wharton at Crystal Palace. And no one's saying Wharton's a bad player.
Nobody's saying Wharton's a bad player. Yeah, and Richard Young just said exactly the same. Who found Wharton? Jay Chambers is saying horrendous window. Mukhtar saying, how much is Parish having to say in these transfers? Well, obviously, Mukhtar, he sets the budget, so I would say everything. I'm not so sure that we are shopping in the right window, if I'm honest with you. They all seem to be panic buys. They all seem to be late buys in the window, but that's just what we do. Jim, why do we always do it like this? Why do we always wait till the last week of the window before we go out and buy 3 or 4 players? That's the bit that is really pissing me off. Is that the director of football, or is that more aimed at Parish?
Couldn't tell you. Don't know the reason. I don't know how other clubs work and how early they get players before a transfer window. It's not easy to sign players these days with agents and bank managers and everybody try to get the little cut out of them. No, I mean, you can't blame Dougie for what's going on at the moment, can you? I mean, the guy's signed some unbelievable players over the last 18 months. Just because one player isn't like Nketiah isn't firing on all cylinders, the team haven't started well, so he's going to struggle a little bit. Not quite sure where he's playing at the moment, where he's just in behind the Mateta, or he's supposed to be an up-front player instead of Mateta. Not sure. But, I mean, before we got him, everybody was crying out, sign Nketiah. We need him. So, and he did. Time will tell if he's a good buy or not. Lacroix, he's an excellent buy. He looks top player. I dare say give him another season 2. He'll be another £40 million player. So, no, you can't blame Dougie for that. I think that's senseless if somebody says Dougie don't know what he's doing.
Interesting. Thank you for your perspective, mate. That's why we ask you on it. Paul?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of my biggest bugbears is the fact that we leave transfers so late. I seem to remember Steve Parish when we first got in the Premiership. I seem to remember him saying something along the lines of that he liked the wheeling and dealing late on. It was quite good to do. Ultimately, lots of clubs buy on late in the window. That's why you have the huge transfer deadline day parties on Sky and on the radio. So lots of clubs do it, and maybe they think they get a better deal if you wait to the end. It might be something like that, but it does annoy me. I do think we do sometimes leave it a bit later than necessary. I remember saying at the time here, I said we would announce Nketiah at 1 minute before the deadline. We actually announced him about 15 minutes before, but ultimately it turns out he was doing videos around the club 3 days before. So we could have signed him 3 days before, and he'd have been eligible to play at Chelsea that weekend. But because we went to the end, him and Lacroix couldn't, and it baffled me. As you said, I know obviously Oliver's now saying he wished he had them earlier because he could work with them. So there's elements to that, but yeah, it could be just trying to shop him for a good deal. Who knows what the reason are, but it is a bit of an unfortunate one. It would be better to get them in the building early and start the season ready to go.
When will we learn, Crystal Palace? When will we learn? Okay, so I just want to touch on what young Jason Devenny said after the game. He said, "You can't."
Justin, you call him Jason. Justin.
I think my apologies. Justin said,
"You're right.
You can't not enjoy the moments like that. At the end of the day, it's bittersweet because right now it's raw, and I'm just looking at the result. But maybe I'll go back and reflect on it and see what I can improve on in my game and what I've done well in this game. And obviously, I just want to keep building on this. I think you had a pretty good start to your Premier League career yesterday, young man. So congratulations. So what we got coming up? I know we've got an international break coming up, boys. But the next few fixtures. Now, you'll notice in the YouTube chat this evening, I've actually already placed this question about the next 5 league games. I know we're about to show you 6 games, but one of them is the League Cup going. There you go. It's 5 games, including the Arsenal one's not on there. So we've got Liverpool at home after the international. Nice. Put the other one up. We're talking about the next fixtures, mate. Not that one. So there's your fixtures. The last one is the Arsenal game. Okay, so we got away at Villa, then Newcastle at home, away at Ipswich, home Man City, and home to Brighton. Forget the Arsenal game. Out those 5 games, ladies and gentlemen, out in the chats, how many points are you predicting that we will get from those games? Now, our history, our very recent history, and you might have just seen a clue of it, has that we haven't been very good as a panel at our predictions. Nice. Can you now put that other one back up? And how crap are we, is what he says in that. So they were the fixtures that we asked you to predict on last time. Okay, and how many points we would get. There are the predictions on screen. Okay, and well, who's doing rather well on that? So, Ian, do you want to talk us through that slide?
Yeah, well, I want to put us on 19 points now. Jim, you were one less than me on 18 points. And where are you, Paul Gear? I can't see you on there.
Mine didn't
panel.
Mine didn't
you did the first one. They just did that. Okay.
But I thought we'd get 7 points out of the last 5, and we ended up with 4. So
well, that wasn't a million miles away. Listen, we've all been totally ridiculously optimistic, and I think at the beginning of the season, rightly so. Why wouldn't we have predicted 12 points? When we finished the season so well last year. I've always said supporting this football club is a bit like being on a roller coaster. Last season we had the highs, didn't we? At the end of last season. This year, now we're in the lows. We're holding on tight for dear life. We think we're going to come off the flipping roller coaster in a minute. And it will get better. It's got to get better, because if it doesn't, we're going to go down. And I don't think we're too good, aren't we? We're too good to go down. Famous last words.
So I've gone purple again, Ian. So can you just, while I'm gone, I'll be back in a second.
You don't need to go. Stay on the show. It doesn't matter. We've only got a few minutes left. Stay there.
So people are predicting it, and Muxel's saying 8 points. Muxel, you need to stay off those drugs, Mark. He's telling you, and you, Steve Jutt, who's saying 15. Jonathan Cook saying 0, can't score goals. Tom Clock Samuel saying 1. Bruce is saying 3. Mark saying 1. Yeah, I think yours are more realistic. Okay, Ian Noble is saying 4 out of those games.
Points. I go 4 points, a win and a draw, and 3 defeats, I'm saying, but I might be way wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's better than that.
Sir James?
7 points, and the easiest game will be Man City at home.
Well, why not? Brighton beat them.
They've lost 4 in a row. Yeah.
They have now lost 4 in a row. Paul?
Well, it's very hard to predict, obviously, because you don't know who's going to be playing and who's going to be back. Hopefully, get played. But realistically, as looking at that right now, I'm looking at, like I say, a draw with Newcastle and hopefully a win at Ipswich. But the rest, so 4 points out of those 5 at best, sadly.
And gentlemen, we're in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. First time we've been that far in the competition since 2012, when we lost to Cardiff in the semi-final. I've got a good feeling about this. Got a good feeling about the cup. I really have. So I think we'll go to Arsenal and win over there and then losing the league to them the following few days later. But
you watch, if we get to Wembley, and you watch how many of those injured players automatically will come back.
I'll tell you what, not just the injured players, how many people come out of the woodwork. Oh, can you get me a ticket? Can you get me tickets for the final? Oh, dear.
It
will start.
Yeah, of course it will. Of course it will. Right, okay. So our next show, because we now have a little break, I'm glad to say, and I think we all need a little break, will be on Sunday, the 24th of November. And that was yours, wasn't it, Ian?
What's that? No, I think I'm doing Newcastle, but I will be on that show, I think. But that's following our away game at Villa Park, second time.
And I will be in the chair for that.
Yeah, second time away at Villa in as many months. We won up there in the League Cup. No reason why we can't go there and win again, is there? I don't know. Probably there is. But, we'll have a day out, Paul, won't we? We'll enjoy it.
It's always fun. It's always fun.
There's a message in the chat, Jim. I don't know. I haven't actually read it. With Jimbo and Budgie due to be on the show tonight, I thought it might be appropriate to wish their former teammates, Billy Gilbert and Peter Nicholas, a happy birthday. Both are 65 years old today. Boys, happy birthday. Make sure you text them, Jim.
Well, they also share their birthday with Wilfred Zaha, because he's 32 today, isn't he, Wilf? Who knew that?
Bring Wilf back.
Would you okay, you asked the question because Jim, it's been asked twice in the chat tonight. Okay, would you?
I'd have him back. Yeah, well, with her injuries now, yeah, I'd have him back.
Interesting. Paul Keir, would you have him back?
Yeah, obviously the current situation, of course you would. I mean, I was not too worried about bringing him back previously, but yeah, of course with the injuries we've got at the moment and the lack of options, he would walk into this team, wouldn't he, right now?
Indeed. And Ian?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, if you'd asked me beginning of the season, I would have said definitely not. But now I would say definitely yes. Get him on the phone, and if he's not playing for this, is it Leon? Is it Leon?
Yeah.
If he's not playing,
I just saw a comment on the comments, and he's Leon, or I don't know if they were 1-0 up or 1-0 down, and he was on the bench. So,
and is he their player, or is he on loan from Galatasaray?
He's on loan from Galatasaray.
Oh, okay. So he can't. When's that loan due to be?
It was a season loan, but whether they've got a call back, I mean, they might be able to call him back in the window to sell him. Who knows? But I know he couldn't come here for tax reasons or something on a permanent. But I'm sure he could be loaned here if we gave him a loan fee, they might be up for it. You never know.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, please follow our Twitter account. Tom Clark Samuel does some mega work on there. It's red _ blue _ and review _ whatever it is _ Okay, there it is. It's on the screen for you now. Please give it a like, share, or follow. He does magic work. You'll even be working while we're on our international break as well. So please give it a like, share, or follow, or whatever else it is you do on there. Also follow Ian Noble on our Twitter account. Okay, he looks after that at red _ blue _ review. Please give that a follow as well, because again, he does all the work on there. I have nothing to do with any of that. And that's it. Okay, that's it. Are we going down, Jim? Yes or no?
ask me in April.
Yeah, that's
No.
it.
I don't think so. No, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. We'll once we get everybody back. Somebody said to me the other day, if you analyse our season, all the games we've lost, we should have drawn, and all the games we've drawn, we could have won. We haven't played bad. Yesterday was crap, but it was only crap once that goal went in, because up until half time, you're thinking, well, we've done all right here. We've got a weak inside, and we've had a couple of chances. They've had a couple of chances. Yeah. Once the goal went in, that changed the complex. So it's not as bad as you think.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's why we have Jim Cannon on the show. He gives us a bit of positive, a bit of sensible comment. Thank you, mate. You've actually made me feel better. Ian, are we going down? Yes or no?
Categorically, no.
Thank you. Paul Gear.
If you base it on the squad we have and the way they can play, then no, we shouldn't be going down. Obviously, if we stick with an injury crisis and the points tally we're getting, we're going to have a problem. But yeah, as we said, I think a few weeks ago, we need to be up sort of 20-ish points in about the next 8 or 9 games to sort of level out. So we need 4 wins and a draw in our next 8 games. So yeah, we're going to start to put ourselves under pressure, but I think we'll be all right.
Thank you.
You know what, Nick? I think even if we don't pick up many points in the next 5, which I've said already, I think we might only get 4 points. So let's say that comes true. So we're then sitting on 11 points, and we'll probably be bottom of the Premier League at that point, or certainly still in the bottom 3. Yeah. I don't think it's a disaster, even that. I think there are 3 worse teams than us this season. I think that could be the saving grace. I know Ipswich had a win today, but listen, Southampton, I can't see them getting out of this. I really can't. I think Ipswich as well. Wolves will be all right. So that other place, who knows who's going to get dragged into it. But West Ham could get sucked into it. Everton could get sucked into it. There's a lot of football to be played still, and I think we'll be fine. I think we'll be all right.
Jim and Ian, thank you for joining us tonight, mate. As always, boys, I really appreciate it. Jim, make sure you look at the YouTube channel, because there is an awful lot of love for you, as always, in there. And I appreciate you coming back, as always. And I think you're down for next week as well, yeah?
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, if you say so, yes.
Yeah, I just did. Okay, well done. Ladies and gentlemen, out of Facebook, YouTube land, thank you for joining us. Thank you for all your content and comments. I really appreciate it. Have a good, safe week. We will be back in 2 weeks' time after the international break. On behalf of myself, Nick, and the rest of this great panel, I'll see you soon. Take care. Good night, everybody.
Make sure you pay your electricity bill next time.
I've got 2 of them. Look, come see. Good night.
Good night.
We will remember them.